and welcome to the Triumphant Birth Podcast. My name is Jamie Reichschlager if you're new, and today I am coming to you from my basement in my jammies, and this is going to be a solo cast because I'm not about to bring a guest into my basement while I'm in my jammies. Oh, you guys, it's been a week, and so I wanted to come to you today to set an example, really, that as mothers and as birth workers, we can still show up, and things might get a little interesting in this podcast that will be shorter than normal, which might be good news for some of you, but this podcast is really just to give you permission to show up as your authentic selves, to give yourself grace if you are having a week as I am having, and to just do the dang thing, because that's how motherhood is. And so whether you have little people or big people that you are showing up for, it's still worth showing up. And I love you guys so much. And this is like such a special thing that I get to do. And so I still absolutely want to be here. I'll give you a little bit of a personal update and then just wanted to let you know about a couple of people who have exciting opportunities potentially in front of them and something that you can specifically do to help. So I have 2 babies right now who are 7.5 months. And I'm going to keep it short because they have not been sleeping very much. And I'm basically ready for bed. I put them down and they've been sleeping very short stretches. They're teething, they're moving, they're pulling up on things. And so my focus has been there. And then just life in general has been showing itself this week, and we are laughing and continuing to show up. So that's a lesson in and of itself. And when I was looking at the excerpt that I first wrote for this podcast, it was sort of funny because let me pull it up here. It said, part of it said, whether the journey is smooth sailing or filled with unexpected challenges, this podcast offers a supportive space for birth workers and individuals navigating their profound realities in the childbearing season of life. And it says also that we aim to shift the narrative by showcasing pregnancy and birth as opportunities for personal growth, enhanced experiences, and generational healing, and something about resilience in there too. So here we are, showing up, being resilient, going through personal growth. I'm currently in a stage of life where I feel like the personal growth is absolutely exponential, and sometimes it's very uncomfortable. And the teething babies are the cherry on top, and I love them so much. I love you guys so much. And so here I am. If I sound a little like loopy, it's because I am. So if anybody else is right there with me, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but here we go. We're going to keep going. So what do I want to say next? Let's just jump right into the main topic, the reason we're here. So I have had Dr. Stu on the podcast. He was my first full episode of my birth story. So I was a guest on his podcast. That was episode number 2. And then I had Dr. Stu as a guest on the podcast. That was episode number 3. So I'm a huge fan already. I know many of you are too. It's not a huge secret that we are, when I say we, the collective we, are fans of his work and what he stands for. So I was elated to see today that Dr. Stu was nominated to apply for RFK Jr.'s team, a federal position that would be working on America's health. So this is the Make America Healthy Again team. And I also saw that someone who I also adore her work, Lindsey Meehleis, she was also nominated for this same area. And so you guys, like, I broke down literally crying today thinking about how hopeful a team like this would be for the state of the country, for the state of birthing families, for women who are, scared of being traumatized in birth, all of these things that could really, I mean, they're doing such excellent work already, and this would just be extending the ripples like beyond. And gosh, I was messaging Dr. Stu and I'm like, you just let me know what you need me to do. I am, we have some people who listen to this podcast, but I'm not like a heavy hitter. But if there's anything I can do to sort of rally the troops to vote for these two incredible individuals, this would be so huge for the birthing communities. And so I do want to take some time to let you know how to support this, because to have Dr. Stu and Lindsey there, I'm repeating myself, so I'll just continue. I'm so excited, you guys. It's like I interrupt myself and then I just can't stop telling you how awesome it would be. So anyway, how you can vote is you can go to, well, first of all, I'll link it in the show notes, but if you're just listening to this and you have access to something like a phone or a computer right now and you just want to plug it in, you can go to nomineesforthepeople.com, and then you're going to go to the America's Health section. And let me refresh it, because you can vote. You do need to create a login for this, and then your email provider will ask you to verify it, but it takes like less than 60 seconds to do that. So I'm just sorting right now by votes. And the first one, of course, is RFK if you sort by votes. And then going down from there, you guys, Dr. Stu is number 5. And then Lindsey Meehleis, she is number 8. And so there are other people on here that would be, I think, good candidates as well. But just because of my, I met Dr. Stu in person. I have not had the chance to meet Lindsey yet, but I know I'm very familiar with her work, and I'm a huge fan of her as well. I know that, so if anybody wants to listen to longer conversations, obviously they've both been on all sorts of different podcasts, so you can search by their names there. They have sort of what I would consider manifestos of their work on Alex Clark's podcast. They're really prolific and very brilliant, intelligent, kind, strong, brave people. And again, I'm tearing up thinking about what it would mean for our country to have these two people on a team that would be making decisions federally for our health. And I do also want to say that this should not be a partisan issue. I know, especially in birth work, we have people who are on all sides politically, socially, from an autonomy standpoint, the whole abortion thing, like we have people who are on all ends of the spectrum. But what should not, in my opinion, be partisan is having someone hold a federal position who cares about birthing options, about autonomy, and about protecting the rights and the systems that actually support families who are having babies, to reduce the maternal mortality rates that are abysmal in this country, especially for Black and brown women, and for preventing birth trauma, for doing all these things that would uplift the midwifery system and model of care and its integration with the medical model. Like, these things are so important. And for years in the birth community, we have been asking ourselves, what can we do? Like, what else can we do to make this better, to help things out? Like, our ripples are ripples, but how can we make them bigger? And I am just so encouraged to see that there could be a way to do that in a bigger way, not through anything that I will personally do, but I'm hoping to make my small ripples that can then make ripples themselves. So anyway, we have Dr. Stu here is number 5. We have Lindsey, who is number 8 on the website. And again, that's nominees for the people, which I will link in the show notes. And I know that so many people here listening are familiar with Dr. Stu. So I read his bio in episode 3 of my podcast, but you can also go to birthinginstincts.com. That's his website. And of course, he has the Birthing Instincts podcast as well, with the brilliant and beautiful and lovely and all of those things with Bliss Young. She's amazing and I love her, and she's held my babies before. So beyond that, for anyone who may not be familiar with Lindsey, and I have not had the chance to meet her in person. She's also on a ton of podcasts too. I would like to read a little bit about what she has on this nomination. So these are other people nominating Dr. Stu and Lindsey, and they both have quite a few votes as well, but I would encourage you to vote for both. So I do just want to read a little caption for Lindsey. So Lindsey Meehleis is deeply committed to improving maternal health outcomes, and she's a midwife, guys, if I didn't say that. Recognizing that a mother's well-being directly impacts infant survival rates. With 21 years of experience, she advocates for policies that prioritize maternal mental health as a pathway for reducing infant mortality. She supports initiatives that integrate holistic health approaches, particularly emphasizing nutrition, mental health, and culturally responsive care throughout pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And she goes on with 5 points and expands on that, or I should say her, whoever nominated her did that. So her 5 top, evidence-based policies that her expertise aligns with are: number 1, prioritizing maternal nutrition and education. Number 2, enhancing access to holistic maternal health services. Number 3, supporting autonomy and informed choice in maternal health care. Number 4, implementing culturally sensitive maternal health practices. And number 5, strengthening postpartum care. So this is really huge. And I'm just going to pull up Instagram actually, because I immediately reposted this stuff to my Instagram. And if you guys want to continue that conversation or any of this, I would invite you to follow me and continue this conversation over at triumphant_birth on Instagram. I really loved her post on this and what it would mean for her to be on this team. So she's been nominated for a maternal and infant health advisor to serve next to RFK. And this is what it says. Imagine having someone in Washington who understands the sacredness of birth and the power of integrative care. In this role, Lindsey would work to bridge the wisdom of traditional midwifery with modern healthcare to reduce maternal and infant mortality nationwide. So her expertise next to RFK Jr., next to Dr. Stu, who has so much experience both in the hospital setting and in the midwifery model of care outside of the hospital. This is a dream team, you guys. And so I would just encourage everyone to go out there and vote for Lindsey and Dr. Stu. And that's all I am going to say about that. I think this is a slam dunk. Again, it's not an intention of mine for this podcast to be like shoving partisan issues down people's throats. I really don't think this is a partisan issue at all. And I know that there are, lots of feelings about the election. And at the end of the day, we know that we are the governing bodies of our own bodies and minds and emotions. And we make a difference in how we show up. And so again, I would encourage you to show up with grace for yourself and for the people around you, whether they are big people or little people. And this is a message that I am sending to myself as well. So with that, thank you for being here. I love you. And tune in next week because we do have a really great episode next week. I lied. I'm going to tell you this and then I'm going to let you go. So next week, I have a really special episode to me. I have my first midwife. Her name is Anne-Marie Ryan. She was my first introduction into the home birth space. And I got to see like the full breadth of birth experience. And she was there for my first birth after I attended my doula training. So as a brand new baby doula fumbling around, I attended a 55-hour birth with her. That was a home birth transfer C-section. And she was fantastic. And she sort of ruined midwifery care for me because I thought all of it would be that good. And it simply was not. So anyway, she would go on, not to spoil the episode, but she would later go on to attend my first birth with my son, who is now 5. And I just love her dearly. So anyway, we're going to talk about home birth. We're going to talk about homeopathy because she is an incredible wealth of knowledge with homeopathy as well. We'll sort of focus on that. And it's just going to be a really great time to sit down and chat with her about all things home birth and homeopathy. So again, thank you for being here, guys. I love you, and I will talk to you next week.